Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. We're glad that you're with us. I'm Steve.
And I'm Scott.
And together we have Backyard Musings, the Science and Technology channel.
Yep, and we're just talking about I guess, a feel good or feel bad story.
I don't know I don't know if I follow this, what the authors are saying. A study finds that the 2008 recession led many people to see themselves as belonging to a lower social class. And I guess I had to take this with a caveat because I was deployed in that time period. I deployed in 2009, and I put all of my 401k into bonds, so they didn't take a huge hit. So I mean, I just had soldiers right and left. I didn't pretty much didn't live this. Class identity refers to how people perceive their own economic and social standing relative to others, and it shapes a wide range of outcomes from well-being to political views. Research has consistently shown that individuals who see themselves as belonging to a higher social class tend to report better physical and mental health. And I don't know if I follow that either. Are more likely to support conservative political positions? I don't know. And often hold a more positive outlook on society as a whole. Would you? I'd like to know more. Would you like to know more?
Well, we're going to talk about it. Despite this, researchers have rarely examined how major economic disruptions influence class identity itself. A new study published in Psychological Science on December 19th, 2025, and led by Stephen Antonopoulos, an assistant professor of psychology at University of Riverside, right in our backyard, suggests that the 2008 financial crisis had a lasting psychological impact. According to the findings, the Great Recession led many people to view themselves as belonging to a lower social class, and this shift persisted well beyond the immediate economic downturn. Yeah, I don't know.
These results challenge earlier research suggesting that class identity remains relatively stable over time. Studies that did observe changes typically focused on brief and artificial shifts, often caused by the way participants were prompted to think about their social standing during an experiment.
Yeah, Antonopoulos explained that many of those earlier studies relied on a tool known as the MacArthur ladder, which visually represents social status as a 10-rung scale based on factors like income, education, and job quality. Participants are asked to place themselves on the ladder, with the top rung representing the most resources and the bottom the least.
In some experiments, people were shown only the lowest or only the highest rung before making their choice. When compared only to those at the bottom, participants tended to rate themselves slightly higher, while thinking about only the top rung led them to place themselves lower.
Hmm. However, this effect is transient, said Antonopoulos, and can change within just a few minutes. In contrast, I don't get that, a few minutes. In contrast, his study focused on whether changes in class identity could last longer. His analysis, which utilized 4 large data sets that tracked the class identity of about 165,000 people over decades, showed that the changes he observed with the Great Recession were indeed long-term, lasting for years.
Antonopoulos stressed that the study only showed changes in class identity and did not examine how these corresponded to objective measures of losses in people's resources. He explained that class identity is a self-perception that is highly personal. In quote, invariably, there's someone in a study who reports an income of something like 200,000, yet identifies as lower class, he said.
That's interesting.
Well, I suppose if you got an income of 200,000 and you got $90,000 of student debt and $75,000 in credit card debt, I would think that you'd think you're lower class because you got all these bills you're paying.
Yeah. In addition to the recession's material impacts, Antonopoulos believes media messaging may have increased people's tendency to identify with lower classes. I agree with that. The media is of the devil.
Yeah.
He observed that headlines during the era of the Great Recession were highly threatening and suggested that people's economic positions were falling precipitously and permanently. One example was when greatness slips away. I don't know what that is. When greatness slips away, and another was as unemployment rises, kids' futures future dims. Such headlines were widespread across the different news sources, including the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. Oh, those were two just number one.
Well, the Times is a rag.
Rags. They're both rags. So,
But
anyway.
so think about the opposite here. Like we were talking about someone straddled in debt. What if you don't have debt? Let's say you built your house, small, modest house out of cinder block, no debt whatsoever, and you're making a meager income, maybe at the poverty level. I mean, do you think if no debt, you've got food on the table, no mortgage, got a house, do you think that you're living the high life? I mean, I'd rather be in that position than have all that debt, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with maybe the people you're hanging with, and the type of job you have. You know, I mean, if your job was affected by that, I happen to be. That was towards the tail end of my time in the supply chain business, and I only worked about another year after that. And the reason I left, not to, you know, I'm not really boasting or bragging, but the company was continually asking me to lay people off, and I got down to the last 7 or 8 people that I'd started with as a manager, and I said, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I'll lay myself off. I'm not going to lay anybody else off. And I mean, I had other means of income, so I was not going to be. If I had to lay off 1 or 2 people, that would have been disastrous for them. But you know, I came out okay. This again, and things started to change. But that whole Great Recession, if I remember correctly, was based on people giving loans on homes that they could not qualify for.
Yeah, the bubble.
Yet they were given it, and then the government sucked it all up, and people were walking away from $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 mortgages that they didn't put any money down on, that they could not pay for, and it left an opportunity for some people to buy real estate at a very good deal, you know, back in like 2009, 2010. So I don't know. It's a lot of it has to do with timing. And I think, you know, just living within your means, no matter what the situation is. You know, I remember our prophet, President Monson, saying, you know, pay your tithing and do what you're supposed to do, and everything will turn out okay.
If you obey the commandments, you will prosper in the land. And I mean,
right.
It sounds easy, and it is easy.
Yeah, and we're not talking about prospering, you know, making a whole lot of money, but you'll have a roof over your head, or you have food on the table, or you'll have a car that drives.
The gas will last longer in your tank.
Exactly. You know, your health will be good, and you'll be able to get through these things, because we know we're going to have trials, we're going to have tribulation, we're going to have storms. You just have to be ready for those storms when they come, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I need to build. What is it the saying they said? Noah didn't build a boat when it was raining. Right. He built it before it started raining, because he was obeying the commandment, like you said. So anyway.
Okay, Antonopoulos said the study identifies an additional pathway through which recessions might harm individuals. In addition to negative economic effects, the Great Recession has been linked to increases in adverse health outcomes for Americans. Perceived loss of status may be one reason for this.
He said future research will explore how changes in people's class identity have impacted their health, as well as contributed to changes in the U.S. political landscape since the recession. These findings carry global implications, since the U.S. Great Recession helped cause recessions in other countries. Again, you know, do we take the blame for all this stuff? You know, again, were those people taking care of business? Because if they had been taking care of business, maybe they would have done okay. Just like when Greece had their issue. We didn't have an issue, right? Greece's economy went south. There's been several economies in Europe that have gone south. It didn't affect our economy. I mean, it may have affected a little bit, but it wasn't like it. So, but yeah, I guess we're the big bag. Uncle Sam, we just blame us for everything. So anyway.
Antonopoulos said increasing awareness of how historical events such as recessions affect people psychologically and impact their lives could help people be more resilient to them. Antonopoulos added that like you said, Scott, resiliency comes from financial smartness and saving for the rainy day, obeying the commandments, and you're going to prosper. I mean, that's where resilience comes from. Recognize that everything comes from God.
Yeah, and prospering may just be surviving. You may have to just survive for a while, but you can do that. You know, again, what have we been taught for the last decades, several decades? Save up some food, pay off your debt as soon as you can. Have some food in the pantry just in case somebody doesn't make gravy. You know, just some.
I've got PTSD now.
Anyway, you know, just be prepared because stuff is going to happen. You know, the sky will fall, even though was that Chicken Little that said the sky's falling? Sooner or later, it's going to fall, and you just got to be kind of ready for it. So,
okay, Antonopoulos added that that the study might offer insight into the possible harm being caused by the vibecession, which is a term that describes the feelings of insecurity many Americans are having right now about the nation's economy, despite its strong overall performance. He thinks it's possible that issues related to inflation, cost of living, and media reporting on these changes could be leading to psychological and physical stress.
I would say probably more so media reporting because, again, we keep track of our fuel that we buy. And we've been doing it since we were married. So
yeah, I did that too before I stopped needing fuel.
Right. And we are, I mean, the other day we paid, it was $3.40 or $3.50 a gallon, which is good for us. Because I mean, we were above way above the $4 to $5 range just a few months ago. So things I think are going in the right, and I know that's not the only expense people have, but that's a big one, especially if you commute. But food is starting to, I mean, look, let's think a year ago or a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, what were you paying for a dozen or 18 eggs? And now you're paying, you know, more normal
6 or
price.
7.
So yeah, I think things are heading in the right direction. Obviously, interest rates are still kind of high for people who want to buy a house. That's a big deal. But, you know, I just read a report the other day that our president administration is saying that, you know, he's got a problem with the Fed right now, or he's had a problem actually. So, and the Fed that's what controls that. So, but I think he's working on it. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. So,
all right, folks, thanks for joining us. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening.